Well, here we are standing outside the newly renovated visitor center of the Oklahoma State Capitol, and it's something that we all can be so very proud of. It's been a long process over the last couple of years, and it's really something beautiful that everybody should come and look at. But when you're walking up to the visitor center, there's a special tree that's just along the way that the Capitol Preservation Committee, they wanted to do everything possible to make sure that this significant tree on the southeast corner lawn was protected. Well, you might ask, this is just an elm tree, just looking at it from the surface, but no, this is a very special elm tree. It's an Ulmus alata, it's a winged elm, but it's a wingless winged elm. It's the largest wingless winged elm really in this part of the city. But that's the reason why they took such great care in this, is it's just not another elm tree, it's a wingless winged elm, and it's a beautiful specimen. So whenever you have a living tree around any existing construction zone, there's a lot of things that you need to consider. And State Capitol Parks did a wonderful job. They partnered with Oklahoma Forestry Services, and they came out and asked us how much space was needed around the tree. So first and foremost, we had to set up a tree preservation zone. And if you look around the canopy of the tree right now, you can see exactly where that undisturbed area was around this entire tree. So once we set up that critical root zone around the tree, we begin working with the designers and engineers, because some of the original designs showed this sloping walkway that leads you down to the visitor center much closer to the original tree. So they had to go back and do some redesigning of the whole entranceway into the visitor center during those early times, and finally it all came together. So one of the first things that we had to do was set up that tree preservation fence around the construction area. Once we did that, some of the earliest things that we did years ago, we went up and did some root pruning. So it's important to allow all the construction people their place to do their work. So they did some deep root trenching early on, and this was a year in advance of any of the construction that was going on. And after they trenched it as deep as 4 and 5 feet deep, we went in with sharp instruments and cut a nice clean cut on the side of the tree. And that way, when it's backfilled, all that new growth can come out much easier. So that's one of the first things that we did a couple of years before construction started. So with the construction of the new visitor center, it was now going to be in the basement of the Capitol complex. And they had to do this sloping area down to where the visitor center door was going to be. So whenever you excavate away from the tree, you're going to have exposed soil. So they had to design a retaining wall system in place where the slope was mild. They could actually use a concrete slurry. But on the north side, where it was just 15 feet down, they needed something much more rigid to hold that soil in place. So they actually had to design a pier system where they drove these piers as deep as 20 feet into the ground and then put a wall system in between there to hold that soil in place while they were building the visitor center. And that's something that wasn't originally designed into it. Manhattan Construction Company has been really wonderful throughout this whole process. You really have to improvise. So your original idea might not be the best idea, and I got to give them credit, because whenever a problem came up, they were so willing to work with us and to work with all the other engineers to make sure that it was a success. And throughout the whole construction period within this tree preservation area, they did a really good job of watering the entire root system around here. So completely within the fence area, this tree just didn't even know that anything was going on outside, because just on the outside of that tree preservation zone, there was heavy equipment coming in and out. It was heavily compacted gravel all through there. Towards the end of the project, when they were pulling out all that construction area, taking away all the gravel, they were going to have to resod that area. They had to pull all that out, bring in new topsoil, bring in new turf. And then around the tree itself, even though it was protected, we wanted to take that extra step to decompact the soil around the tree. There's a lot of different ways to do that, but the one way we did it is with an air spade machine, where we trenched out, much like a spoke of a bicycle, in set increments around the tree, and then we brought in organic material and replaced that. So what that was able to do is it decompacted that soil, because we all know that all living things need air in their soil to grow through. And so that was just an added step that we did to make sure that those roots can continue to grow into that new uncompacted soil. And that's something that we're going to go back and do in another year or so. You know, this was a really great project that a lot of people were interested in making sure that this tree survived this construction. Now that you've seen the whole story, I think the next time that you visit the state capitol and you're walking down that ramp into the visitor center, just take a look at that large elm tree that's just on the southeast side there, and now you'll know everything that they did possible to make sure that that tree is going to give us years and years of beauty. If you're doing any kind of construction project around your home, whether it's a patio, whether it's a new addition to your home, whether it's anything like that, that you're disturbing the soil close to existing trees, there are some things that you can do to make sure that tree is going to be able to survive whatever it is that you're doing. Get a hold of Oklahoma Forestry Services. We'll be happy to give you some guidelines. So just there are so many resources out there that you can go to look for, to see about if you're doing construction around living things like trees, there are some things that you need to do beforehand, during, and afterwards to make sure you have the greatest chance of success.
We hope you enjoyed this video. It's part of our Oklahoma Gardening YouTube channel. You can also find even more videos on our OK Gardening Classics YouTube channel. And join us on social media for great gardening tips, photos, and discussion.